I know you have like a better base, fan base. So I don't know if you want to promote it or whatever, but definitely, we'll get some people in here and stuff like that. Hey, 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 welcome to the stream, everybody. Welcome to the stream, everybody. This is going to be a special guest with me today, Mets Talk with Hayden. He has a great following. He follows the Mets. He's a big Mets fan. You can say hi, Hayden, if you want.
Yeah, what's going on, everyone? Mets Talk with Hayden is the name. I want to thank Randy, obviously, for having me on this stream. I know you and I have been, talking the last couple months, last couple weeks, and we definitely were trying to work something out. And hey, I'm glad to be on this channel and talk some Mets baseball.
Yeah, definitely, man. So overall, the latest lockout news. What do you think about the latest lockout news with the canceling of spring training? What's going on there? What's your views? How you looking?
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, obviously, as of right now, it's very stressful. So I guess it's really not much of a big surprise that spring training is going to be delayed. It was supposed to start the 28th, and now they're saying now it's going to start March 5th. And being realistic, that's not much of a surprise. We knew that because of the situation with how much time you have left, how often they're meeting, we knew that wasn't going to be a shock. Now, I guess it is good that they're going to be meeting every single day next week, Monday through Friday, because that's a benefit. But I'm not like super happy about that because are these going to be 15-minute meetings or are these going to be, business meetings that are, 3, 4, listen, this is my thing is if you're a union and if you're meeting with the business, baseball aside, you shouldn't be having 15-minute meetings. You should be meeting much longer. So, I mean, now they have a sense of urgency, which I think is honestly, it's good, but it's stupid because they should have had a sense of urgency since December 2nd when the lockout started. On my channel, I was blowing up. I know on yours obviously too. We were both obviously mad about this, and now they have a sense of urgency. Good, but it's a little too late for that. So I think in terms of things starting up, I think it should be good. Obviously, the really big things, it seems the owners and the Players Association are starting to agree on some things. I think it's going to be the Super Twos and obviously the arbitration. That's going to be a big thing. And then the bonus pool money. That's going to be the other thing. But in terms of the luxury tax and the non-core economic stuff, I think they have that battle down. It's going to be those two things that I think are really going to determine a lot.
No, I definitely feel you on that for sure. Yeah, this cancellation of spring training really does suck because we want to see the baseball players right now. We want to see them play in spring training. We want to see them ready. And baseball, it takes a lot. The pitchers have to get ready, the catchers have to get ready. And after Valentine's Day, they was already supposed to be already in Florida. And seeing the minor leaguers report to Florida, Point St. Lucie, Francisco Alvarez, Brett Beatty, recently, it shows that it's a lot of excitement for baseball. And the Mets have a lot of like minor league system. Brett Beatty, top prospect. Francisco Alvarez, one of the most hyped prospects that we got in such a long time. Pete Alonso wasn't even hyped like that. Ahmed Rosario was not hyped as much as Francisco Alvarez. So
Right.
it really is amazing that that we have these type of prospects, and hopefully we get some baseball because baseball guys is my favorite sport. I'm sure it's probably Aiden's favorite sport. And because you can see the background, you can see all the Met stuff, man, and it's amazing. But yeah, how do you feel overall, Aiden, about the roster currently with the New York Mets in 2022?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Mets definitely made a lot of moves to, I guess, solidify some offense, some defense, some pitching. I like the moves they made so far this offseason. I think the Canna signing is huge. I think the Escobar signing is good, and as well as the Marte signing. Overall, Canna, solid defensive guy in the outfield, high on base percentage. I guess he could really fill in that spot to an extent if Conforto doesn't come back, which maybe he will, maybe he won't. But high on base percentage guy, connects with the ball well, could arguably be another table setter in this lineup. You have Escobar, switch hitter. I do value switch hitters in this lineup because you only really have Lindor. That's a switch hitter in this lineup. So I value switch hitters in this lineup because, with Buck Showalter now, he could finagle this. how he wants to go about his lineup, where he wants to move guys. So Escobar's a good signing. Defensively, he's not bad. He hits for some power, relatively athletic speed. That's a bonus. You have Marte, we brought in. The Mets brought in Marte. I think that it was a really big move. Do I think he's going to steal 53 bases or whatever it was? Probably not. I think he'll steal like 30. He's another year older, so he may be a little bit slower.
That's good enough. I mean, to be honest, Marte brings so much that the Mets did not have. We did not have speed. And, Brandon Nimmo is not speedy. Michael Conforto wasn't speedy. We really didn't have anyone as speedy, so we really need – Starling Marte is going to bring so much to this team. I am so excited to see him play center field. Do you think, with Brandon Nimmo saying that he wants to play center field, how do you feel about that? Do you think Brandon Nimmo should be the center fielder? Do you think he should get some reps at center field? Let me know.
Well, as of right now, I mean, I think Brandon Nimmo really improved a lot defensively last season. We know that he hasn't been on the field a whole lot of time because of his injuries, but the time that he's been on the field, he's been consistent. Offensively, he's fine. No worry about that. But we're talking defense, and in terms of him, I don't think he has the arm or range for a right fielder. So it's obviously going to come down to center or left field. And I guess your question is, should he play center? Should Marte play center? Yeah. Well, as of right now, I like Nimmo at center. My only issue with Nimmo at center right now is that he plays, and maybe you've noticed this, maybe you didn't, but he plays really far back. Like you'll see him, he's like really far back in the warning track. And there was that one game against Pittsburgh where he robbed the I think it was Brian Reynolds or someone that hit it. He robbed. I think it was that. And it's like it was a good catch, but you were like right on the warning track. So I mean, I don't have a huge problem with players playing on the warning track, but if there's a BABIP single and it drops in, you're gonna have Nimmo, you're gonna have LINDOR and McNeil running from the infield to the outfield to go and grab it when Nimmo's all the way on the warning track, rushing towards it. And especially for a dude who wants to stay healthy and not, avoid injuries, he's going to be sliding if he's playing far back. So I don't know. I do like Marte, though, at center. Obviously, the Mets signed him for the center field role. He has the speed. He has the athleticism, as well as Nimmo. But I'll say I think in terms of speed and getting to the ball quicker, I'd probably Marte. I wouldn't have an issue with Marte in left. Left field is really where you put the guy who, I guess, has the worst range and the worst arm, I guess you could say. And I don't think that would categorize Nimmo or Marte. But as of right now, I like Nimmo in center field because he's going to be a free agent after 2022. And if the Mets want to try and work something out with him, I think he could get the best of his production and talent at center field. So I like Nimmo in center and Marte in left.
That was a great point. That's exactly what I was going to say because he brings a lot at center field. And, overall free agency, like you said, after 2022, he can, be looked at as more value. He can bring more value to teams and he could, get a payday. Brandon Nimmo is a guy that, can walk, a guy that can be on base. He's such a great on base percentage. His eye at the plate is amazing. I love his eye at the plate. He brings so much to a team. He is really the perfect table setter, to be honest, the perfect number one, leadoff hitter. So the Mets need to use him, the best way that they can. And, extension wise with Brandon Nimmo, I don't know if the Mets are going to extend him, but they have talked to Brandon Nimmo about an extension, but they haven't really got to numbers yet. But I want to say I want to let you guys, talk real quick. So, let me see right here. He said, Christian said, awesome to see you two together on stream. Been following you two for a while. Thank you so much, Christian. I really appreciate it. Let's see what Martin said here. Hey, guys, hopefully this lockout ends. Definitely, this lockout really sucks, guys. It's putting a pause on a lot of channels, a lot of progress. It just sucks. There's so much players to be signed. Michael Conforto has not signed. So many players. Carlos Correa hasn't signed. A lot of players have to sign, guys. And, there's still a lot. Nicholas Castellanos has to sign. There's a lot of people out there that have, to sign. And I don't know how, when this lockout ends, I feel like it's going to be like a Like they're just gonna shop, like they're just gonna go right after these hitters, right after these guys, and guys are gonna want to sign real quickly. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens. See what you said here. Good point. Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, and thank you for coming to the stream. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I've been following Aiden for a while as well, and I really appreciate him being on the stream with me. Let's see what Liam said. Favorite player on the Mets. Who is your favorite player on the Mets, Hayden?
It has to be the one and only Pete Alonso back there.
Okay.
I am a big Pete Alonso fan. Obviously, on all my streams, I praise him. But it has to be Pete Alonso. I mean, he brings a great mentality to this game. Whenever like there's a walk off or there's a home run, I always see like Alonso like pumping out there, cheering, jumping out of the dugout, bouncing up and down. I mean, he brings great chemistry to this team. And regardless of, the personal and social aspect of him, he's a great ball player.
Yeah.
Same power. I mean, just all-star caliber. What is there really not to like about him?
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you remember that post conference interview that the Mets were struggling, and he seemed so joyful, and he didn't really. The team was really, really struggling. We lost first place. The team was on a downfall, and Pete Alonso was very positive, and not a lot of Mets fans saw that, as a form of confidence there. And so let me know what you think about that, because Pete Alonso, I want him to lead this team. With Francisco Lindor coming, I know that a lot of people want Francisco Lindor to lead this team, but I don't feel like Francisco Lindor is really that type of leader that Pete Alonso can be. So let me know what you think about that.
Yeah, realistically, I think there are. I guess if we're talking in terms of captains, we haven't really had like an established leader captain since David Wright. Yeah. Yankees haven't had one since Jeter. Who knows? Maybe Judge will be theirs. We'll see. But in terms of the Mets, I don't really know about other sports or around Major League Baseball, but like I don't really think like captain is really a role anymore. But I definitely wouldn't be opposed to bringing one back. I think it's a guy that someone could look up to that's like not a manager but has an established role, I guess, to be kind of like a player manager and cheer guys up. Maybe not like say, oh, do this and give construct, or how do I word this? Maybe not, be with Buck Showalter making the lineup every day, but could maybe give some players some criticism, constructive, obviously, or, cheer some guys up if they go 0 for 4 or, drop a catch or, ground out or whatever, something like that. And you pointed out Alonso was very optimistic. I know Nimmo was too. And I think it's good. It's better than these guys sitting and going, oh, it's so unfortunate, the Mets lost, so unfortunate. Oh, we'll get them tomorrow. I'd rather them sit there and be optimistic than just sit and, give that mentality. Yeah, let's be realistic. They probably are BSing, but I'd rather them BS on their face than just sit, in front of the studio and just look miserable.
Let's see what somebody else said here, right here. Have you heard that Alvarez goal is hitting the bigs? Yeah, I actually have heard that Alvarez, he wants to hit the bigs this year. Want to make the major leagues this year. And, obviously it's not going to happen. We know that it's not going to happen. We have James McCann still as our catcher for the next, I think, 3 years, right? So, I'm not very happy about that, in general. But Francisco Alvarez is going to slot in right away, okay? So, once he is in the majors, he's going to make a great impact. I already can see it. The most hyped prospect in such a long time. He is the top 10 prospect that, we've had in a long time. He's literally ranked 10th in all of the prospects right now. So, yeah, it's really big. I can't wait to see Alvarez and, his power. Defensively, he's not the greatest, but definitely his power is just changing. It's amazing. It's amazing. What do you think about Alvarez, Aiden?
Yeah, Alvarez, what is there not to love? Realistically, I agree with you. I don't think he'll make the bigs in April, at least. Yeah. Maybe as a September call-up, but that's pushing it. That'd be really, really, really lucky, and I don't see that happening. I think 2023 would be fair. And then you just put McCann as a bench role and give a bench player that much money and admit defeat with McCann. But I like Alvarez. He's 20. Yeah, I think he's 20, shockingly. And I mean, what we've been seeing from him is crazy. Like you said, the power, the pop in his bat. I mean, the Mets don't really have much power on this team besides like Pete Alonso and maybe Escobar to an extent. There's no power really besides like Escobar and Alonso. So bringing in a guy who is offensively really mature at the plate at his age is really good. Like you said, defensively, I think there's always room to improve, especially because the catching position is one position that I would rather the player be much older than younger. If it was like center field or first base, yeah, you could be 20. That's fine. And defense may not have to be the biggest thing. But catcher, they call the game. You know, they're pretty much the head of attention. Every single pitch, every single movement pretty much goes to them. So, hopefully if, his framing metrics, defensive metrics, they could look better, I'd be down to that. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about who should the Mets sign after the lockout. I know that the Mets, they have eyes on another pitcher. They have eyes on, probably Chris Bryant. They have eyes, some places. Definitely, guys, I would say the rotation we need another pitcher either by trade or, by signing. And there's not a lot of pitchers out there to sign that would, change, the caliber of this team the way Max Scherzer did. So, there is Clayton Kershaw, Zach Greinke. There is those type of pitchers. Clayton Kershaw, I feel like is a lifetime Dodger. I don't see him leaving the Dodgers. But, in general, Hayden, who do you think that the Mets should sign and will sign?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think pitching is the main priority right now for the Mets. I think offensively they're fine. Their outfield is fine if they want to bring back Conforto. I wouldn't be against it. He really had one terrible down year. So I'm not going to go after him because of that. I think he'll definitely have a really successful season wherever he lands. So I wouldn't be against bringing back Conforto. Otherwise, I don't really have any main guys from the offensive side besides him.
Yeah. What about Chris Bryant? Do you think Chris Bryant is needed on this team to make the World Series?
I mean, Bryant's nice. He's not what he used to be. I still think he's like a good player. I still think he's an all-star caliber. I don't think he's like MVP 2015 style anymore, but he's still a good guy. He's a versatile player, which is good. You could put him at third. You could put him at center, left, right. So the versatility is there. I like that. Defensively, he isn't bad, but he's not good. So about average, I guess. But at third base, I'd say he's pretty solid. Hits really well against left-handed pitching with low velocity, fastballs, the three things that the New York Mets lineup really struggled with last season. So imagine he was with the Mets last season. That could have really helped out a lot. But he would be nice, but I wouldn't say he's like my top priority. I think pitching is the biggest thing right now for this team because we saw last year in 2021, there were so many games that the Mets lost that were one-run games, or there were so many times that I guess, the pitching staff just got tired and fatigued, whether it was the DeGrom injury, Taijuan Walker getting a little fatigued because he hadn't pitched in a couple years, so he was starting to get those innings pitched back to himself. I mean, McGill could only last so long because he's a rookie. Peterson, he got hurt. I mean, Carrasco, I have no idea what happened with that guy in the first inning. And I mean, yeah, just overall, I think the starting pitching is really going to be big. But I feel confident, having DeGrom and Scherzer, hopefully they can stay healthy. That's the biggest thing with those two. If they could stay healthy, then the rest of the rotation will be fine because it'll be a domino effect. Because
that's the best 1-2 punch. That's the best 1-2 punch in such a long time, to be honest.
Yeah. And I think it's because, if it's like a domino effect. If DeGrom and Scherzer go down, then it puts pressure on Walker, McGill, Carrasco, and it's going to do so much to those guys. And it happened to the bullpen. DeGrom got injured. DeGrom will go out and give you 8 innings of baseball. And then you only have to use a reliever for 1. And then, that gets taken out. Well, time to use more of your bullpen. And I think bullpen would be nice to address too, but bullpen is like kind of at random because it's like so shaky, that position. So yeah, starting rotation. I mean, a guy like Kershaw, I see in the comment, a guy like Kershaw, Rodon wouldn't be bad.
Yeah, Kershaw.
like you said, Randy, I don't see Kershaw leaving Los Angeles now that they lost Scherzer. I wouldn't mind Rodon. I know he is kind of injury prone, but I think if you use him in the right way, he could be fine. He's a lefty. I do value lefties in the rotation. Just the contract would be a little like questionable because he wants like 6 to 7 years, but he's only played 1 year fully healthy out of what?
No, definitely Rodon, I would say like you said, he's injury prone, and overall he just last year was his best year.
Yeah.
It was his best year. How many games did he win? Like overall 13, 15 around those types. Yeah, so he went like I think it was 15-4. So he won a lot of games. He performed well, but I don't know if like you said, that 6-year. The Mets are not signing Rodon for 6 years, not even 5 years. So he is younger. He's not as old, but still, I think he's at the age of 29, right? But in general, Rodon is just. I don't know if that's what the team needs. The team seems like they want a type of lefty, pitcher. David Peterson, we have David Peterson as a lefty. It seems like the Mets don't have that much confidence in David Peterson as much as they thought they did. And, it really sucks because David Peterson was a first-round draft pick. It really does suck. It shows that the Mets, they really need to focus on their drafting, focus on their scouting, and, hopefully get it right because David Peterson, I feel like he had a pretty good year, not last year, but in his first year, when he first came up, he shows that, that nice slider. His control was pretty good overall. But last year, he wasn't as good. He was shaky. It looked like he lacked confidence. And that's what really sucked about David Peterson. But, he got injured and, but he still is, obviously going to be in the rotation somehow. And I don't really like the rotation options that we have. Like I said, Peterson, Taijuan Walker, Taijuan Walker, he had a pretty good first half and a terrible second half. He allowed a lot of home runs. It seemed like the National League, they saw what, Walker was doing and they got the hang of it there. But in general, I think that if the Mets were to trade for a Chris Bassett, somebody like that, maybe he could be, number 3 in this rotation. So let's say it would be Jacob deGrom, Max Scherzer, and Chris Bassett. I know that the Mets will have to give something for Bassett, obviously. In general, Bassett is going to be a free agent after the 2022 season. So he is going to be a rental. So in general, the Oakland is not going to want to resign Bassett. And the Mets should look at Bassett as, an asset because I feel like he can definitely be an asset to, the Mets rotation. What do you think about Bassett? Do you know about Chris Bassett?
Yeah, I know a little bit about him. He would be a nice addition to the team. I think years of control would work out pretty well for the Mets. So, you wouldn't really be paying him a lot. My only thing is what you're going to have to give up for him. And I've kind of always stated on my streams and just in general that I want the Mets, and I think you kind of talked about building the farm, is that I want the Mets to continue building their farm. Obviously, yeah, the Mets wouldn't be trading away a Brett Beatty or a Francisco Alvarez for that. But, you could be talking about a Mauricio, a Jalen Palmer, like a 15th to 20th round guy. And I don't really want the Mets to do that. You've been noticing that the Mets have been making these interesting moves this offseason and last offseason, acquiring some guys like Cleo Lee or Nick Plummer to help booster up that farm. And right now, I want the Mets to build their farm. If they're going after starting pitching, I'd rather it be on the free agent route. So a Rodon or a Kershaw. So, yeah, I would decline Bassett, not because of his performance, just because of you're going to have to give up a lot. But I admit it is a cheap deal. Like you said, it'd be a rental. But, yeah.
I feel you. I feel you completely on that. I definitely understand. Let's see what Martin said here. Mets need a left-handed pitcher since they lost Aaron Loop, which had an amazing season. Aaron Loop had the best season, lower than 1 point ERA. He looked so amazing. it really did suck when the Mets lost him. I was like, what? Like the Mets should have probably, resigned him, but they didn't. And I really don't know why. But Rich Hill, Rich Hill is very old. I don't feel like he's that much of a loss in general. He did give you a lot of starts. He'll give up three runs and he'll get it together. But in general, Rich Hill, I could live without. But Aaron Loop, I'm gonna really miss. Definitely. But I feel like the Mets do definitely need a left-handed pitcher. Taylor Rogers is one. Of the Twins. Yeah, definitely. But let's see what these guys are saying here. They said, "Oh, hey Hayden, hey Randy, from Kenny. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? Welcome to the stream." Wow, let's see. Jose said, "How about making a blockbuster trade for Shane Bieber?" Wow, that like
lot.
what that Shane Bieber, wow, that would be a big trade, very game changer. We would have to give up, a big prospect, definitely either, Ronnie Mauricio, Mark Vientos, these type of they're gonna want a lot for Shane Bieber. In general, like you said, the farm, we want to build the farm right now, and this is a time where we need to build the farm and not give up a lot. But in general, do you think the Mets are going to win the World Series like that, Hayden? Because I know that, Steve Cohen, he wanted to win the World Series. He gave, what, a 5-year time frame. And, I don't know if he was being really realistic there. I know that he wants to be a big player, obviously like the Dodgers, like the Yankees in general. But because, he has money, he has brought this change of dynamic to this team because we obviously signed Max Scherzer. We were not going to do that, with the Wilpons. We were definitely not. So, in general, yeah, that's really crazy, to be honest. See what Gio said. Let's go Mets, definitely for life. LFGM for life. See a rotation of the Grom, Scherzer, and Bieber would be crazy. Definitely, it would be really crazy. Aiden, do you think the Mets would win the World Series without giving up this farm that they have, without giving up these prospects?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think right now the Mets are realistically a contender for the playoffs. I mean, what you have so much and how much you're paying a lot of these guys. I would certainly hope that they'll finish over 500 and at least be in the playoff contention.
Yeah.
In September. I mean, you brought in Marte, you brought in Canna, you brought in Escobar. Those are 3 solid guys, arguably all-stars. You brought in Cy Young, future Hall of Famer Max Scherzer,
definitely
to accompany Jacob deGrom, a hopefully healthy Taijuan Walker. I mean, a developing David Peterson and Tyler McGill. I don't know what's going on with Crasco, but whatever. And then, you have so much more. You have so much more. Pete Alonso. Hopefully, I'm confident that Jeff McNeil will have a bounce back. I'm confident Francisco Lindor will perform a little bit better. Brandon Nimmo. You have so much, and you have the bench mob. You have so much to work with this team. And then, like you said, hopefully, a guy like Alvarez could be called up 2023, maybe with Beatty also. If those 2 guys, and maybe Vientos is a DH, if those guys in the farm can pan out to be as successful as they are praising to be, then the Mets are a very deadly team.
No, I definitely agree with you there. We have a lot going right now, a lot of positivity, a lot of optimism. In general, we are, a contender to make the playoffs, but I don't know about the World Series. The World Series, it's so tough to win the World Series in general. The Braves won the World Series, last year, and we did not think that they were going to win the World Series. Obviously, Obviously, in general, we did not think that they were going to win the World Series, but they made a couple of trades. Jorge Soler, Eddie Rosario. They got Jock Peterson. So they made these trades and they made their team better. And the Mets were in first place, and the Mets could have made their team better, but they decided not to. They decided to not, give up the farm. And in general, we didn't make the World Series. We didn't even make the playoffs, which sucked. But, with this free agency, I feel like Max Scherzer, like you said, Marte, Canna, they bring so much optimism, to this team. Marte, I feel like is going to be such a such a fresh, a fresh air. He's going to be such an amazing asset to this team. He's going to run, he's going to hit, he's going to field very, very well. I'm sure that, with Dominic Smith in left field, I don't want to see Dominic Smith in left field ever again. And that's no fault to Dominic Smith. Dominic Smith is a very hard worker. He does a lot of things to better himself. Very nice guy. He loves New York, but I don't know if he has a place on this team. Do you think Dominic Smith has a place on this team right now?
I honestly would say no. I know that I kind of said like I wouldn't want the Mets to do trades, but I would only do a trade if it, has a guy like Smith and maybe another major league ready guy in that. Dominic Smith, like I said, I think, people say, oh, well, he hits well against lefties. Oh, he's a good bench guy. I wouldn't be against him on the bench. I just think that he isn't consistent enough. You saw 2020, he was amazing because it was 60 games. Add 162. We saw the season. Towards the second half, he started to fall apart. He started to strike out more. He had complexities getting the ball off the ground. He really struggled. And defensively, he's whatever, I guess. He's not like – he's a left fielder, so it's like you don't get a whole lot of action out there. But just the Mets have so many guys that were out of position. You had J.D. Davis thrown all over the place. You had McNeil thrown all over the place. I'm tired of guys being played out of their position. I think Dominic Smith would be literally a good trade piece to send to another team, like Cleveland maybe, maybe like the A's or something like that. And then, I know you spoke about Bassett. I mean, maybe I wouldn't be against the shipping away like a Mauricio and a Smith for that and another guy in return, I guess, from the A's. But yeah, Dom Smith, he has great chemistry. That's awesome. He's had a lot of good times with this team, and he has had some bad with, his injury. And but as of right now, I think he'll most likely be traded.
Let's see. Baseball is my air said, hello, here from Hayden. What is the number one thing the Mets need to take care of during the season? During the season, I would say definitely the, rotation. We have to take care. We have to take care of the rotation. But I would say what's very important also is the bullpen. Edwin Diaz, can he be trusted as our closer for the New York Mets? Edwin Diaz, he has these lights out moments where he just strikes out the side and looks amazing. And then he has these moments where he's out of control. He gives up home runs. I remember I was watching a game. He got out of control, and then Juan Soto hit a home run against him, and, we lost that game. But, I would say the bullpen is very important, and also the rotation. So I would love a trade maybe for Josh Hader. I know that Josh Hader is an amazing closer, Milwaukee. I know Milwaukee, they get so close to winning, in the playoffs, and then they just can't make it. They just don't do it. So I don't know if Milwaukee is going to, give up Hader, because the Mets would have to give up a lot for Josh Hader. But there are also other guys, Craig Kimbrell, that you can trade for these other type of, pitchers. Like I said, Taylor Rogers, in the Twins, so the bullpen is very important, because if we don't have a bullpen, guys, we're not going to win the game. To be honest, we need a bullpen, and I don't want to see another season of Jeurys Familia ever again in the New York Mets. And that's no fault to Jeurys Familia. It's just, I'm so tired of Jeurys Familia in general, and hopefully we do not get another Jeurys Familia season. Let's see what Jose said. If there's going to be the stupid DH in the NL, just platoon Dom Smith and JD Davis. What do you think about that? What do you think about the DH, Aiden? What do you think about the DH? Do you think it's going to be good?
So I kind of have mixed thoughts on the DH. I understand you have your old traditionalists, who I guess enjoy pitchers hitting, and I understand that. I used to be very anti-DH. Like a year ago on my channel, I would constantly just say, "Oh, the DH is dumb for the Mets. We don't need it. Just have DeGrom hit. It's cool, whatever." Until he started to get injured a lot this season, and a lot of it when he had the forearm tightness, or the elbow or the partially torn UCL or whatever, then I was like, okay, some of this could be from swinging the bat a little bit too much. There was one thing. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Zach Gallen. He's a pitcher from the Diamondbacks. He bunted and he ran to first base and he like twisted his leg. I don't know, he did something and he was out for like a month because he was hitting. Adam Wainwright in 2013, 2014 ran to first base after hitting the ball and tore his ACL and literally missed a fair amount of time because of that. So I just think with the injury risk of DeGrom, Scherzer, and I guess that's really it in the rotation, I don't want these guys hitting. Like I understand it. It's cool. Like I was at a game. I was at the New York Mets and the Braves game in 2019. It was Players Weekend in August, and I saw DeGrom hit a home run, and that was really cool. I was there to see Jacob DeGrom hit his last home run of his career, so that's pretty interesting. But on the same hand, I think now the Mets have so much in this lineup. You have so many options and so many guys that the DH could be something. Like if you want to have you said JD Davis. I think JD Davis would be an awesome fit in the DH, and maybe you platoon like maybe Cano because you also have Cano. So like the DH doesn't have to be like one guy. It could be JD Davis one day, Robinson Cano for 3 days, Dom Smith for 1 day. Like you could constantly rotate. And it doesn't have to be a power hitter. It could be a guy like McNeil who could just get on base, get a nice base hit and get on base or walk or something like that. But I think as of right now, I'd have like JD Davis against lefties and Cano against righties or something, or the other way around. JD Davis against righties and Cano against lefties is probably what I would do. Yeah. So that's what I do with the DH, in my opinion.
I feel you. In my opinion, I feel like the Mets would definitely benefit from the DH. In general, the American League has had the DH for a very long time. National League, we had the DH, I think, in the pandemic season, and the Mets benefited from that. So they have a lot of players like Ada said, out of position. Dominic Smith, JD Davis, these guys that really So the Mets, if they was to get a DH, I feel like it would bring a lot of thump into the lineup. Definitely. Jacob DeGrom, definitely what you said about Jacob DeGrom, I definitely agree with. Tyjon Walker also. These type of pitchers that get hurt when they type of swing. And Jacob DeGrom was trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark. It looks like he's trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark every single time he swings. And you know why he does that? Because he wants to win the game. Because he knows that the Mets don't have a lot of offense. And obviously, Jacob DeGrom tries, to make up for that. And, there's been times where, Jacob DeGrom has won the game for himself. He actually, hit an RBI single and he pitched a shutout. So definitely, with Jacob DeGrom not hitting, it's going to suck because I like Jacob DeGrom hitting, but I love his health. And, obviously, if the Mets want to win, Jacob DeGrom has to be healthy. So, with DH, I feel like the Mets have options. Like you said, Cano, we have one more season of Cano, and, he can definitely, he can hit. We know that Cano can hit. He was just hitting in the Caribbean League. In general, JD Davis, we know he can hit. But, also the DH, Pete Alonso has said that he does not like to DH. I don't know if you ever heard about that, Hayden, but he definitely said he does not like to DH. What do you think about that? Because I know that the Mets, probably would want to use Dominic Smith at first base and either, Pete Alonso DHing. Do you think Pete Alonso is a nice DH for this team?
He did DH a little bit in 2020. I know you brought up how the Mets had the DH in 2020, and he was, a lot in 2020. We saw him in the DH role, and it's not like I wouldn't be super upset, but, well, first of all, he wouldn't be the full-time DH. If anything, he'd be getting, reps at first and reps at DH, but it'd be like a 50-50 or 60-40. As of right now, I would like Alonso at first. Because like you just stated, he said that he doesn't want to be the DH. He likes to play first base. He's young. He's honestly got much better defensively at first. I like him at first. Your DH could be for a guy like a veteran like Cano who's aging and helps their career expand, or a guy like JD Davis who has horrible defensive skills and really has no position. You put him there. Or Dom Smith, I guess, too, for whatever reason. Or who knows, maybe they'll sign a guy like Kyle Schwarber or someone. I don't know. But he also could fit into that category of poor defense and good offense. So I would like Alonso at first, and I think that's probably how it's going to be. I can't picture him being put in the DH unless it's like a day off and then like someone gets hurt and he needs to come in the game, then yeah. But like starting lineup, I have him at first.
Yeah, I feel like Pete Alonso is very, important to this team. Like you said, he's young. We have control over him. It's not like we have to, extend him, right away. So definitely Pete Alonso, at first, like you said, he has been improving defensively. He has looked really, really good defensively, actually. And, he came up and not a lot of people were happy with his defensive ability. And he worked on it, and he looks like he's definitely, an improved first baseman. Obviously we know his power. We know, what he brings to this lineup, because he's really an explosive player. Out of nowhere, he can just hit a 3-run homer. He can also hit opposite field home runs. His power is really, it's different. It's really different. But definitely on the DH, I don't want to see Pete Alonso at DH, to be honest. I really don't. The Mets have a lot of players there, to play with, in general. Oh, that's a good question. From Robert Manfred. Will Lindor bounce back? In general, Francisco Lindor, his first year of, in New York, I feel like I knew it was going to take some time. I didn't really think that he was going to be the 300 hitter, hit 27 home runs, 30 home runs. I just didn't see that happening. New York is a very hard market to play in. A lot of players, Carlos Beltran, when he first came here, he did not perform that, very well when he first came to New York. So, definitely Francisco Lindor, I feel like, it looked like he was, his looking like himself in the second half of the season. He looked like he was more comfortable. He did get to play with his boy, Javier Baez, so, I'm sure he was more comfortable like that. But in general, Francisco Lindor is a very important player to this team. To be honest, the first 10 years start in 2022, because, last year we just had him on a trade. So this year, 2022, this is going to start, his contract, his Mets, time. And, 10 years of Lindor. So we'll see what happens. But definitely $341 million contract, I felt like was so much money. And, Francisco Lindor, it was crazy how he got that much money, but he did. And, the Mets have to live with whatever Francisco Lindor, does for this team, because hopefully he does perform. In general, Francisco Lindor brings so much to this team. I love his energy, his defensive ability. I love that he can switch hit. I like, his swagger, his confidence. I like it. So hopefully he does, have a better year in 2022. Do you think he's going to bounce back?
Yeah, I mean, 341 million is definitely praising someone high. Like, I wasn't against extending Lindor. It's just the price I felt was a little arbitrary, I guess, if that's the right word to use. Do I think he's a $341 million guy? Not really. Defensively, he's awesome. No doubt about it. He's a gold glover. Offensively, though, like, he's had a hard time being consistent, even, going back to the Cleveland days. 2018, awesome. I mean, MVP style season. If only the Mets had him then, which they didn't, then that would have been amazing. Or, are we going to see a 2018 Lindor again? I hope so. But realistically, I think he'll be a guy who, bats like 270, 280, 25, 30 homers, 75 RBIs, which is good. It's not bad, but I don't think that's 341 million worth. So my opinion is he's a good player. I just think his contract makes him supposed to be like MVP, style, I guess you could say. But I think
I definitely feel you on that.
Yeah, but he'll play better than compared to last season, 100%.
Yeah, I really hope he does because he's very important to this team, and yeah, overall, yeah, like I said, I love his confidence. So hopefully he does get better and bring a lot to this team. That Yankee game, the Subway Series game, it looked like he was so motivated, in
Right.
that game, and I guess when Francisco Lindor is really motivated, he performs well, and we saw how motivated he was. He had so much adrenaline. He was, in New York. It was like his New York moment, and he hit 3 home runs in that game and won the game for the New York
Yeah.
Mets. So that was his New York moment for sure, definitely. I loved it, and hopefully we will see more of that from Lindor. See, let's see what see. It's a shame to have incomplete players like David Ortiz wind up in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, David Ortiz, making the Hall of Fame was definitely different. Not a lot of people, liked it, and a lot of people, did like it. But in general, definitely Lindor, definitely I agree. Lindor has to mature, develop better leadership skills. It looked like, he was saying a lot of things in post conference interviews. He was just saying what he felt. But then, the second half, it looked like he was controlling, his words. He was wording his words better, So I feel like Lindor is learning the New York market, and I feel like he definitely learned it from 2021 season, So hopefully he does perform very well and just overall become smarter and a better leader for this team. Because I don't know if this team really does have a captain, like we talked about, but we'll see. We'll see in general. But Aiden, is there anything you want to talk about that you want to talk about in general?
Yeah, I mean, I guess really all I could say is, I mean, I hope this lockout ends.
Yeah.
With Lindor, the my bad. I thought we were talking about something else. Yeah, I mean, with Lindor, obviously, um, I agree with you, Jose. I think he definitely has to mature to an extent with the leadership. I mean, we saw the whole McNeil and Lindor fight. I mean, that really was not good. And like, I get it. McNeil was, I guess, a little hostile. Still doesn't make it right, but yeah, realistically, I think Lindor is hopefully going to have to try and develop maturity. And I guess if he's the leader, if he's not, I mean, in Cleveland, I guess like it was him and J Ram that was kind of carrying that team. So can he, be on the table with other all-stars on the team? I mean, being able to, share leadership skills with Alonso, with, I don't know, Cano, with DeGrom,
Yeah.
stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Nah. I definitely feel you on that. See what Trey said here. Do the New York Mets have enough rotation depth? I feel like personally they have some rotation depth there. We have Tyler McGill, David Peterson, Tyjon Walker, Joey LaCasey. I'm not really the biggest fan of, but in general, the Mets do have some rotation depth. I don't know if the Mets, are going to sign, maybe guys on a minor league contract and they could come up, if guys get injured. Aiden, do you think the Mets have enough rotation depth in general?
Yeah, I mean, there's always room to add guys. I mean, right now, if the season were to start right now, you'd have DeGrom, you'd have Scherzer. You would probably put maybe Walker in the third spot, Carrasco in the fourth, and then I guess the fifth spot could be an argument between McGill, Yamamoto, and not Yamamoto. I mean McGill and Peterson, and then maybe in like your 7, 8, 9 spot. In case of injuries, you'll have like a Yamamoto. I mean, we'll see. Who knows? Maybe someone from spring training, in the farm will make the opening day roster. That could be awesome. But realistically, since knowing what can happen with DeGrom and Scherzer, I don't think they have enough right now. This is my thing. As of right now, if everyone stays healthy, they have enough. But in terms of thinking worst case scenario, which is going to have to be this thing for the Mets in terms of their pitching health, they don't. Because last year, they had like 8 guys that could make a case for pitching. I mean, you had Peterson, Yamamoto, they had everyone last year. You had DeGrom, you had Stroman, you had Carrasco, you had Walker, you had Yamamoto, you had Peterson. They had Syndergaard hopefully coming back, but that didn't really turn out. You had so many guys, and literally all of them got hurt. And then they had to call up McGill. And all these other guys. But as of right now, I think to an extent they do. In terms of performance, they do. But in terms of health, I don't think they do. Maybe if you get one more guy like a Rodon, or whether you get a trade for Bassett or Minaya or Castillo, then if you had one more guy, I would say 100% you should. And who knows? Like maybe with a guy like Peterson or McGill, they'll put him in the bullpen, and just kind of try and mature them, and just get used to pitching.
I feel like in general, rotation wise, Carlos Carrasco was supposed to bring so much to this team, when we got him from Cleveland, with Lindor. So, Carlos Carrasco was supposed to bring so much, but when he came, when he got healthy, I guess, or how healthy he got, he didn't look as comfortable in New York, and in general, he didn't look as comfortable in the first inning. It looked like Carlos Carrasco struggled so much in the first inning, just, and I don't know, maybe, I guess he struggles in the first inning, and, maybe we could get like a starter for him, just to start the first inning, and then he can pitch to, the other innings. But in general, Carlos Carrasco, I feel like, is very important to this team as well. We do have him for one more year. So rotation wise, I feel like he can be good. Obviously the old Carlos Carrasco was very, very good. He's a very nice guy. I feel like he knows how to pitch. So hopefully, the National League just don't just hit him out the ballpark like they did in 2021. How do you feel about Carlos Carrasco's performance? Because I was not really the biggest fan of it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he looked on a whole other world. He would just come into the first inning and he would just be terrible. The command of the strike zone wasn't there. He was getting barreled. He was giving up plenty of hard contact. And then he would give up like 5 runs in the first, and then he'll go into the second, and he was Tom Seaver, Jacob deGrom pretty much for the rest of the game. The damage was done. So, like, I don't know. Like, I know people, like, last year were saying, well, why don't they have, like, Loop or someone start the first inning and then he starts the second? Like, I don't know, like, what the issue with him is. I don't know if it's a mental thing. I don't know if he needs more time being warmed up. Maybe, like you stated, maybe he just gets nervous in New York and then he just settles down into the second inning. I really don't know. I'm hoping he could work with Jeremy Hefner in spring training and throughout the season, and hopefully that doesn't happen this season. If it does, then they're going to have to figure something out, because they can't be having that, 1 out of 5 games.
Definitely feel you on that. Let's talk about Michael Conforto. Do you think the Mets are going to get him on a shorter term deal? Because apparently reports, Buck Showalter actually said it. He mentioned Michael Conforto, that, the Mets are not out on him. So how do you feel about Michael Conforto in general? I feel like a short-term deal would be very good for the New York Mets. Michael Conforto is such a nice hitter, overall. He did have a very down year. A lot of Mets players had a down year. But I love Michael Conforto. I love what he brings to this team. The power, the sweet swing that he has. In general, if the Mets were to bring, Michael Conforto on a short-term deal, I feel like that would be very beneficial for them. Do you think the Mets would get Michael Conforto on a short-term deal? And do you think Conforto will take a short-term deal? Or do you think he still wants that long-term deal?
Knowing Scott Boras, who is his agent, Scott Boras is, I mean, you probably know, he is a tough guy to deal with. Look, I respect him. He fights for his guys, but boy, everyone is taking him now. I mean, Bryce Harper has him. Zach Wheeler has him. Brandon, all these guys are going after because he gets some good deals. And I respect that, but he is tough to work with. I mean, him and Conforto were going to want money. I mean, Conforto really had an unfortunate down year in the worst year possible, which is the year before your contract, and year before you're about to hit the market, and that's probably one of the worst times to have a slump. But he was talking. Conforto and him stated that they're going to want a long-term deal, $200 million plus, and I just don't know how much the Mets are going to be willing to agree to that. I'm not really sure why. I don't know if it's performance-wise. Obviously, it has nothing to do with the luxury tax or the financial aspect, but I just don't know. I mean, the thing is, they gave him the qualifying offer. He declined it. So, I mean, he wants, 6, 7, 8 years. I mean, that's what he seemingly wants, and as well as Scott Boras. Will they get him back? Maybe. I mean, maybe with the lockout and spring training starting really quickly, maybe he'll change his mind and come back on a one year, 2 year deal, maybe for 18 million or something like that. Fingers crossed he'll bounce back if that's the case. But I mean, there's a lot of teams that would give him, go out for him. I mean, the Phillies are that would want him. Maybe the Mariners, the Yankees. But I hope the Mets can get him back. I mean, he would be great. Then maybe you move Canna to the bench. I mean, you have an outfield combo of Marte, Nimmo, Conforto. That's solid.
Yeah, I definitely feel you on that, man. Michael Conforto, I feel like if the Mets were to get him on a short-term deal, it would be beneficial for them in general. With the Mark Canna signing, I did like that signing. It was a little out of the blue for me. I didn't really look at Mark Canna as very important, but he slots in right away to be a very important outfielder for the New York Mets. Not having a real right fielder, because of the loss of Conforto. So in general, Mark Canna is a nice outfielder. Like you said, he can bat anywhere really in the lineup. So he brings a lot to this team. If the Mets lose out on Michael Conforto, it is what it is. Michael Conforto had a very nice Mets career. A lot of people wanted Michael Conforto to really live up to the hype, I guess. They wanted him to be like this Bryce Harper or this Juan Soto to this team. And it put a lot of expectations, high expectations on Michael Conforto. And, he performed in some years, but he didn't perform. Last year was a very down year for him. And, it did suck to see Michael Conforto have such a down year, because I thought that last year was going to be a great, great year for him. And, yeah, let's see what Stoney said here. Hayden and, yeah, what's up, bros? Yeah. Oh, glad to, see you come to the stream, man. I really appreciate it. I just want to say I loved having, Aiden on the stream. I really, really appreciate your time, man. Really appreciate you in general. I love talking to you about the Mets. Hopefully we do this more in the future. Definitely, you guys are awesome. Thank you guys for watching the stream. And yeah, let's go Mets for life, guys. And yeah, Aiden, really, really appreciate it, man. You're freaking awesome.
Of course.
Yeah. Hopefully your channel grows and my channel grows. And yeah, I'm so happy. So if you want to say some final thoughts, you could, bro.
Yeah. Obviously, I want to thank you, Randy, for having me on. I'm glad we were able to do this. I know we were trying to work something out. I know I saw a couple of my guys, so hopefully you got some new viewers. So that should be pretty good. But yeah, hopefully this lockout could end soon. Fingers crossed. I mean, I was supposed to go to a couple spring training games down here in Florida, so it's a bummer. But hey, I'll definitely be going to some games throughout the season, Marlins and Met games, so that'll be cool. And yeah, LFGM, and let's end this lockout. Let's get some things done.